The following telephone recordings are from the period November 1975 through March 1976. This narration was done in 2016. I'll be narrating the listener as if in real time through an old exploration of a now long-defunct telephone network, owned by an independent telephone company which still exists, although the network being described here was replaced during either the 1980s or the early 1990s. None of the techniques described here have anything to do with present-day networks. Okay, it is now December 1975, and something is going on in Warwick. There has been a change. First, let's review how it was. Now, this call's from 887, so you can hear White Plains dial pulsing all 7 digits to the Warwick step tandem. And the N1 carrier noise has gotten louder because the trunks from White Plains to Warwick step were all N1. That is the way it has been up until this point. Now here's the old recording.
This is a recording from Warwick, New York. The number you are calling cannot be completed as dialed.
So Warwick was a step, White Plains was dialing 7 digits over N1 carrier to reach it. But that was then. This is now.
You have dialed a non-working number. Please consult your directory or ask your operator for assistance. You have dialed a non-working number. Please consult your directory or ask your operator for assistance.
As you can hear, there's a new recording. And thanks to our calling from 887, we just heard White Plains MFing into this new Warwick switch.
Please consult your directory or ask your operator for assistance.
And one more thing. Haha, see? From White Plains to Warwick is now N3 family carrier, which is 2600 operated, so I can reset it with my ARP Odyssey. So this new switch, whatever it is, can now be MF'd into. So let me try just calling my other line.
This is recording. We cannot complete your call as dialed. Please consult your directory or ask your operator for assistance. This is recording.
Okay, so I've got some good news and some bad news. The good news is that the new Warwick switch, which is some sort of semi-modern switch that independents use, it accepts MF, it's smart, it's not a step. It can be easily played with. And that's because the new trunks from White Plains 1 to Warwick are 2600 controlled. You can whistle it off with 2600. And we have so many N1 carrier trunks to White Plains 1. That's the first link. Well, N1 carrier doesn't respond to the 2600 tone. So I go through to White Plains over N1, and this won't respond to 2600. But this will. So that's the good news. The bad news is that I tried calling various things through this new Warwick switch, and it's restricted. You can only call things in the Warwick long-distance sector. That's a small handful of codes up in that corner of the state. There's 1 or 2 in New Jersey. Let me check the list here. It's a pretty small little sector, but I think all of these belong to that same little Warwick Valley telephone company. 986 is the code in Warwick itself. That's in the new machine. Then there are some steps. There is Florida, New York 651, Pine Island 258, and then in New Jersey, Upper Greenwood Lake 853 and Vernon 764. That's it. That little sector is all you can call. And so, for a while there, I thought I couldn't do much with it until I called the operator codes. There's 121 for the inward operator. That's used when someone is trying to make a call to the Warwick sector, they're not getting through, so their local operator calls the Warwick inward operator by dialing 914-039-121. Now, that's not something a customer can dial, but operators use that all the time. 914 is the area code, 039 is the code for Warwick, 121 is for inward. Well, you know, when I called inward, something jumped out of the phone at me. I can't play you the original time that I called Warwick inward because I didn't record it, damn it. But I have a really good tape of calling Warwick inward. There was no way I could dial it normally, but it could be MF'd or SF'd, and I have a recording of SFing it on the Olney, Illinois centerized step tandem.
6184.
I'm going to start with a call in progress. It'll be on an intercept recording. Then I'm going to whistle it off. I'm going to SF the code for Warwick inward. Again, it's 914-039-121.
I'm sorry, the number you have reached is not in service. For aid on a local call, dial directory assistance. If a toll call, dial your toll operator. I'm sorry.
Okay, I dialed the number. Only we'll put the call through in a minute. After the first string of MFs, you'll be hearing what everybody in the world hears when they call Warwick inward.
Warwick? Warwick? Hello?
That flash, when I first heard it, got me thinking. I, of course, tried keying something with my ARP Odyssey, but there was no response. That flash turned out to be the decoy.
Hello?
And by the way, she doesn't go off hook.
Warwick?
I don't know why. That's unusual for inward. It's supposed to. The real sound that mattered was this. Aha. Now see, that's an NX1 sound.
Warwick?
NX1 is the name of a wonderful, fun crossbar-type switch that makes noises like this and lets you do all sorts of cool things. Here are those sounds from Warwick again. Unmistakable. That's an NX1 connecting to an operator position in a relatively advanced system, well advanced for the 1970s, called TSD, Traffic Service Desk. This is what they use for 0+ dialing. So if your line is NX1 and you dial a 0+ call, you'll hear something like this.
What special service do you wish?
Even dialing 0 by itself, you'll hear that sound as long as your town has TSD. Not all NX1s do. Here's dialing just 0 from Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, a place that has an NX1 with off-frequency dial tone.
May I help you, please?
You could hear the sound a second time as crosstalk. Now there's another place where you would hear that sound, and that is calling the inward operator in a place served by an NX1 tandem where that same switch has TSD. Now if you called the inward operator in Greenville, North Carolina, which would be 919-063-121, you would not hear that sound because Greenville didn't have TSD. But Winter Garden, Florida did, and when Bill keyed 121 directly into the Winter Garden NX1 switch,
I see you have TSD.
There it is again. But this new Warwick switch is not an NX1, don't you see? It's something more modern. And when it gets 121, it doesn't start up with this. No, it first MFs into a second switch, and that second switch does this. Here again is what everybody hears calling Warwick inward.
Warwick.
You see, there are two switches in Warwick. One is the new one. That is the one that MFs to the second switch, which makes the NX1 noises and gives us the operator.
Warwick.
The new switch, which is what White Plains uses to reach the 914 parts of the Warwick long-distance sector, is restricted, as we've seen. I tried my number, and I tried other things with the tape off, and nothing went through except the Warwick sector. But this older switch that handles the operators, if it were possible to reset that, goodness knows what we could do with it. Now again, that supervision flash is what got me thinking about doing this, but that turned out to be nothing. However, now I have the idea, and I'm going to try to reset that TSD switch. So here's the plan. We're going to call a number in Warwick. It's going to go through N1 carrier to White Plains 1. White Plains will send it to Warwick's new switch over N3 carrier. That will reset when I blow 2600. And into that, I'm going to key 121.
You have dialed a non-working number. Please consult your directory or ask your operator for assistance.
All right, I've reset the new switch, and it's waiting for digits. Now, I know I can't call myself through this, it's restricted, but I can call 121 for the inward operator, so I will. After I key the code, it MFs that same thing over to the TSD switch, which then starts making all that clicky-pulsy noise, trying to connect me to the operator. But I'm going to try to disrupt that process and see what happens. Here goes. Haha, see? It was going to go to the operator, but I sent some momentary on-hook signals with 2600, and look what happened. Now, this isn't useful in and of itself, but it shows you can mess it up, which means that if I keep trying, I might get the TSD trunk to completely reset. Well, what do you know? The TSD is now reset, waiting for my digits. Now, the first time I did this successfully, the tape wasn't running, so I've had time to find a few things. I want to show you this. It's a test code that I found, 511. I've tried rotary dialing various things, but all I get is this ring. And then you can reset it back to the dial tone. And then if you do something other than a 1, seems like anything but a 1 just goes back to the dial tone. And 1 does this. And by the way, this is the old Warwick step ring. That's right, calling Warwick subscribers, you used to hear this. But now you have to go poking around in a back room like this. And here's the old tone plant. That's the old dial tone. This is probably a test board ringing. Maybe it still answers, who knows, but This TSD switch is not new. I feel like I'm exploring an old abandoned building here. And it gets eerier. I've now reset all the way back to the new restricted Warwick switch. And I'm going to call 121 again. That'll go over to the TSD. I'll successfully reset the TSD. And then I'm going to try a 516 directory assistance call. What it will do is so strange. You'll see. Okay, the TSD is now listening for my digits. I'm going to key the number, and it's going to try to put the call through but get stuck. I'll then coax it with a little beep of 2600, and it'll do an MF or two and then hang on the MF tone. And then I'll coax it along, and it'll get a little further down the string of MFs, and then hang again. And just before the last digit, it sort of gives up. You'll see. It just flashed before it was going to send the last digit, as if to say, screw it. Never seen anything like this. Here's the same thing with the 213-555 number. Here's what happened one time when I tried the code 111. That flash was the TSD trunk just resetting, so it's listening for digits again. Now this time I'm going to do 213-555 plus 4 digits, but not coax it along. And you get a different result, although initially it doesn't seem so. There. It has a trunk, but it's stuck. Alright, it flashed with a loud key pulse. And you'd think this was the TSD trunk just reset again. But actually, this is different. By not coaxing it along, I have ended up somewhere else. And guess what works here that can't be dialed in other Warwick places? Oh, you gotta be kidding. I'm flashing supervision. I called myself on my other line. I answered. The supervision is not getting back to us.
Hello, this is a new goody tandem. What this is a tandem in Warwick, New York, which I am not sure whether it's crosspoint or what. But anyway, it is restricted, except for about 6 different step codes and the exchange in Warwick, 986, which is built into the machine. However, it sends 121 and 131 through TSD. Now, keying in 121, there is a way to make the TSD trunk reset, but you have to flash at precisely the right point in the NX1 pulsing, and then the TSD trunk resets. You can then put in any area code, except that it will not put the call through. It just picks the trunk to the tandem. It sits there. Now, what it does after that depends on which sender you get. Some of them will send KP in your ear and dump you into the trunk without sending anything. And that's what this one did. Of course, the trunk that the TSD dumped you into is that same crosspoint or whatever tandem, except from the TSD it's unrestricted. And you're home free. And as you can see, no soup. So let me hang up for a minute.
The reason I've hung up my phone is to demonstrate that this call I've made won't get disconnected. Let me just explain for those of you not familiar with the concept that the whole purpose of a goody tandem is to be able to make calls that don't send the answer supervision signal, the answer signal, back to the originating end. And that allows you to make calls without worrying about either a toll record or a charge being made. The other thing you can do is, as a prank, you can hold someone up indefinitely in most cases. And that's why I've hung up on myself. It's to prove that this connection can hold me up indefinitely. Normally, I would be disconnected in 20 seconds because I'm calling from a number 5 crossbar line. This is actually Goody Tandem number 4. The first one was Peekskill, New York's crossbar 5 tandem. Then we discovered that Riverhead, Long Island's crossbar 5 tandem was also a Goody Tandem if you came in and out the right way. Then Olean, New York, up in the 716 area. And this is the 4th. You know what the 5th Goody Tandem was? This just really cracked me and Ben up. A place in New Jersey called Freehold. Get it? Freehold?
Alright, I haven't demonstrated the reorder method when it puts on the reorder, and I also haven't demonstrated the special treatment 212 gets.
You heard it right. There are variations to the absurd techniques involved in doing this. I feel like I want to repeat the technique that we just went through before I show you a variation on it. So without hanging up completely, let's do this again, except we'll end up on a different destination. Now, if I just plain blow 2600 at this point, I'm going to clear down all the way back to the restricted version of the new Warwick switch. Let's do that. All right, now we've lost all the good stuff and we're back in restricted Warwick. But we can always call the Warwick inward operator and then prevent the TSD from actually getting us the operator, instead resetting the trunk. The TSD is now waiting for digits, and I'm going to key some random long distance number, 315555. That's enough to make it work. There. The TSD has the trunk, and now it's dumped us on it. We are now on the unrestricted Warwick, and did you know that this new Warwick tandem actually has the courtesy to stack? That is, if you give it a routing code with no digits following, it'll just put you on the trunk. In this case, to Rochelle Park, New Jersey, I'm going to dial 201036, start. There. Now, that was very subtle, but the new Warwick switch has just courteously dumped us into the Rochelle Park 4A. To prove that we've actually succeeded, I'm going to dial a vacant code into Rochelle Park. Tick. That's what a 4A switch does when it connects you to a recording.
We're sorry, but we're having a problem in completing your call as dialed. Please check the number and dial again, or ask your operator to help you. This is a recording. 2014. We're sorry, but we're...
2014 is Rochelle Park. Now, Warwick, of course, can only stack into things it has direct trunks to, and there aren't that many major tandems, because Warwick's pretty small. New York, Borough Tandem. There we go. Let me call inward. And we made TSD reset instead of getting us the operator. Now something random. There, TSD has a trunk. And now we're on it, the unrestricted Warwick. KP 212 start will make Warwick stack into Burrow Tandem. Oh, that's so cool, and the New York trunks have a whine. Burrow Tandem is actually two tandems working side by side, but the two of them share the single recording ID 2129, as you'll see here. Here's a vacant code.
We're sorry, but we have a problem in completing your call as dialed. Please check your number and dial again, or ask your operator to help you. This is a recording, 21210. We're sorry.
What?
Yeah, this is where I found out that something had changed, and it's very odd because now Burrow Tandem 4, which had shared the ID 2129 with Burrow Tandem 3 for as long as I'd been into phones, suddenly it was calling itself 21210.
21210.
No, 21210. Meanwhile,
21210.
that is another tandem that's been using that ID since 1973, New York 10. It's an AT&T 4A in New York City. So at this point, there are two tandems using the same numerical ID. That's Burrow Tandem with its West 50th Street City Ring. It uses 21210, but if you hear 21210, that's the New York 10 4A owned by AT&T Long Lines. This little kerfuffle between Long Lines and New York Tel continued through the first half of 1976, and then was finally resolved in August of that year, where on a trip to Belvedere, New Jersey, we heard
21253.
the resolution. Anyway, there is one more example here of the new Warwick switch stacking into Burrow Tandem. Now, I have to explain something else. You know how when we go into the TSD... Here, let me do this.
This is a recording, 21210. We're sorry.
Okay, we're in the TSD, it's waiting for digits, and here's where we usually key some random long-distance number just to get it to pick up the trunk and then sit there and dump us into it. Well, there is one long-distance area code you can put in here that the TSD will handle differently, and that is 212 for New York. Perhaps you heard that it just MF'd KP 212 start, and then it gave up. But that's doing better than it usually does. In fact, very often if you put in 212, it will successfully send it to the unrestricted Warwick switch. I'm going to try it again. Ah, you see, it worked. That was the TSD successfully MFing the whole number, 212, to the unrestricted Warwick switch, which then stacked into Burrow Tandem. Burrow Tandem is now waiting for digits, and I'm going to key Ben's number. Notice how fast the call goes through after I key the last tone, which is the start.
Hello? Why is Burrow Tandem identifying 21210?
What?
Why is Burrow Tandem identifying 21210?
They changed the recording?
Yeah, I got a 2129 earlier. It could be that they finally got two recording machines. You know, back before.
Hold on, I can't see on the line. Yeah. Go where? Of course. That's not about $25. I looked at the book.
By the way, the reason the call went through so fast is because Burrow Tandem is a crossbar tandem that has overlap outpulsing. That means that it picks up a trunk to Ben's office and is sending the number even as I am still MFing the number on the incoming side. So it's pulsing while I'm pulsing, so that by the time I hit start, it goes right through.
But I can't, well, when I make it.
What Ben's about to refer to is RCZR, Remote Control Zone Registration.
It's funny, my mother calls me and the Ricks are intrudes in the whole conversation.
I know.
Like, you start talking and I was thinking, like, it's not going to come on, and then tick-hunk, tick-hunk. And then, like I say, it's very spread out on those trunks. It's like tick-hunk, tick.
Very slow, long pulses. They want to really make sure they move that message register.
Oh, yes, take that.
What Ben's talking about is that when his mother calls him from an exchange served by the panel switching system, and she's either in Manhattan or the Bronx, the conversation starts, and it seems nothing's going to happen, but then the remote control zone registration pulses start up, and they are so loud that they disrupt the conversation. I have this exact experience too, albeit before the 2nd Avenue fire when interzone tandem still existed. When anyone called me from a Manhattan panel office, this is what I would hear. Hello? And at this point, the person in Manhattan would start talking. And as they were talking, those 6 loud banging noises, really, really loud, would be competing with them for attention, and the banging noises usually won. I had no idea what it meant. I just knew it happened when people from panels called me from Manhattan. And for me, this trunk noise was always on the line. Turned out it was interzone tandem, recording ID 21215. The trunks to Lynbrook 3 always sounded like this. So what was going on? Well, we actually did not know this at the time. It wasn't until after the 2nd Avenue fire, where interzone and city tandems, the main ones that did this, were destroyed, never to come back again, that Ben and I found out that panel switching offices, except maybe for 1 or 2 in Brooklyn, did not have the ability to handle multi-message unit calls by themselves. They had these little meters called message registers that would increment when a call within 10 miles, what's called a single message unit call, answered. But for multi-message unit calls between 15 and 30 miles, these panels depended upon special trunks to certain tandems, and what the trunks would do is, after your called party had answered, they would send pulses of 130 volts down both conductors of the wire trunk, which at the panel end would increment the message register. So there were certain tandems in New York City, City Tandem, Interzone Tandem, York, Jamaica, Richmond Hill, and Mount Vernon Tandem 1. That's in 914. Those were the tandems that did the RCZR function. We didn't even know about it, although we had heard the loud ticks, until this particular evening, which I happen to have on tape. I am at the West 73rd Street panel, visiting. I don't live there yet, and I'm calling Ben.
Hello?
Hello?
Why 4 of them?
Yeah, Wi-Fi.
Because it's a 2-message unit call, and it makes a loud tick at the beginning and end of each remote control increment.
The noise came on immediately this time. Apparently the noise doesn't mean you're charged. I guess the noise means it's pricking up its ears or something. I don't know.
What about that noise? What does that mean?
That means you're on soup to me, and I will time out the dial zone. Let's see how long it takes, okay?
I think it's 20 seconds.
Of course, so many crossbar 1s are 20 seconds. In fact,
Who said that?
Steve's office is 20 seconds.
Oh, I haven't even known any personal one said. That's nice.
We need to make a record of the fact that
Well, I
crossbar...
haven't.
See what happens when you don't use a goody tandem? Yeah, normally if someone hangs up on you, you'll time out in 20 seconds. Now, of course, Ben was able to continue talking to me after he had hung up on me because he has the arrangement which rather absurdly is known as a mute or a black box. All that is being able to talk and listen with your phone on hook. It's so simple to do that it really doesn't even deserve a name. It shouldn't be a noun, it should be a verb. Not a mute, it should be called muting, because it's so simple. The simplest way to do it was just to insert a 3300 ohm resistor in series with your rotary dial. That was the simplest way. So anyway, Ben has that ability, so when we test the goody tandem, we're able to keep right on talking even after he's hung up on me. Let's do that. By the way, on this call, my 887 office is going to get an N1 carrier trunk to White Plains 1. That does not let you hear the outpulsing. Most of them do. There are a couple which, like Lindbrook 3's trunks, don't. So I happened to get one of those this time, but the rest of it's all the same. Okay, we're in the TSD, which usually just accepts 212. So I'm going to put in Ben's entire number, and we should hear the TSD followed by the new Warwick switch MFing the number. Of course, the Warwick switch won't MF the 212 because it's going to burrow tandem.
Hello?
Oh, come on. Dude, we're testing a goody tandem and you answer unsouped. That ring trip sounded like an intercept. Freak, are you muting again?
Yeah, you can soup.
No, if I don't soup, then you can't hold me up.
Not exactly. Actually, I will hold him up for as long as I want to, but if he doesn't go off hook, it doesn't make any difference because that would have happened anyway.
Right, so you can't claim to hold me up because...
Yeah, and you can't fire me. I quit. Go off hook, please.
What is this chirp I hear in there?
Whenever you soup, it chirps. Don't ask me. It just does. I've had that from 914 before.
Let me flash a little.
You want me to flash?
Let me flash.
Yeah, you flash. Notice I can flash you.
Oh,
Isn't that great?
yeah.
Right down the line.
Good transmission.
Yep, no guard band required. Now unsoup and we'll see if... Are you unsoup?
Are you sure it doesn't have an erratic time delay?
It holds... I tested it holding for 3 minutes.
I see.
No, it's a glitch that's causing it to dump, I think.
This is really something.
I know, it's amazing.
What's the code in Warwick?
Oh, an exchange?
Yeah.
986.
Right.
That's in the machine.
914?
Yeah, that's part of it.
986. Okay, that would be cool.
That's a good idea. See if you can get rid of me. Except you have to do it from souped, you know.
Oh, yeah, right.
It could never be loud enough. Unsoup it yet. Well, let me turn off the tape. I think we've rather well demonstrated that this indeed is a goody tandem. Anyone you want me to hold up? or anything.
Today's Thursday. Maybe they're showing a Yippo.
By the way, 270 has a recording on it again.
By coincidence.
Do you know Yippo's number?
Yeah. There we go.
I'll do it on both lines.
Okay.
And tie them together.
Yeah, right. Now let's see. Where's their address? Okay. Come visit the city. Office. 1201 608 1647 New York City 1001. Where's the telephone number?
No telephone number?
But I know they have a phone. Maybe only the big bastard knows the number. Let me check this again.
From the tape, it appears we did not have the phone number and didn't find it that day, so that ended up never happening. Certainly in our minds, if there was anyone who deserved to be held up with our brand new goody tandem, it was Yipple. But it didn't happen. Sorry. Well, there are more wrinkles to this Warwick thing, but we've done a lot in this program. Before I go, let me just go back to one point I made earlier, which was that when I keyed Ben's number directly into Burrow Tandem, and I didn't key it fast, the call went through immediately as soon as I hit the start tone. I just happen to have here a much better and graphic example of overlap outpulsing being done by two crossbar tandems while using my ARP Odyssey to MF on Deer Park Tandem 1.
5168.
And I'm dialing Buckminster 2, which goes through Brooklyn Tandem. On the first call, I just put in the whole number, and the call goes through normally. And there you hear the call going through without any noticeable overlap outpulsing. Now I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to pause right before the start, and you'll notice that Deer Park goes ahead and MFs the number to Brooklyn Tandem, even though I haven't finished sending the sequence. Deer Park is already talking to Brooklyn Tandem, even though I'm not finished talking to it. And Brooklyn Tandem is already revertive pulsing with Buckminster 2, even though Deer Park hasn't finished speaking to it. Deer Park's one digit behind me. When I hit start, both tandems finish up very quickly because they've had a head start.
Sorry, the number you have reached is not in service or temporarily disconnected.
Thanks to overlap outpulsing. Deer Park was doing it, sending MF out as it was being MF'd to, and Brooklyn Tandem was doing it, RPing while it was being MF'd to. Crossbar tandems usually do that. That's one fun thing about them. Actually, end offices do it too, just not number 5 crossbar, what I'm calling from in these recordings. Well, that's it for this program. The next one will still be recorded from Long Island, still doing stuff with the Warwick Goody Tandem because there are a few details that haven't been covered yet.
Now, I know I've had it hold longer than that.
Now, just for fun, I'm going to use Juice to reset White Plains 1, key the Warwick office code, reset Warwick with 2600. Now on restricted Warwick, KP121 start, ring forward. That's Ben's method. Now on the TSD, 212. Now on Burrow Tandem, Ben's number.
Hello. I love this.
Oh, you got the goody.
That's next.